Hello, everybody. I'm sitting back here just thinking, and I was just watching a video of a brother when he was talking about the role of the women and where they get their understanding from. But it's kind of controversial because he was saying that a woman's place is to be at the house, cook, clean, take care of the kids. Y'all know the scenario. That thing. And if that woman doing that, that's not a bad thing. But when it comes to a person narrowing it down to just that, I want to show a different side of that scenario. See, to me, the other side of the scenario is a lot of great women of the Bible and the Word of God. They did some great things. You know what I'm saying? They was out running their own business, but it wasn't seen as running the business back in the day. Back in the days, it was seen as women helping to build the household, where the role was almost reversed. Where a lot of men would dominate around the home. They build around the home and keep things in order, and they conquer the land and maybe grow food or stuff like that. Where the woman on a reversal role would say, like, I'm mistaken, Lydia, I think it was Lydia in the Bible, where she used to make silk. And she would make it at home and then go out into the business square and sell her silk. She would make good money. She was so good at it that she became the world's greatest silk. And everybody knew her from having that 100% silk. And it was good material. And that people looked for her stuff. So she was a businesswoman outside of the household. And God didn't condemn her. And then we had other women that went out. This one lady, she went where all the men was too scared to stand up to this king and his army. This one woman shamed them and told them how wrong they was. The men was going to allow for these people to come into the area and take over their city. She wasn't having it. So she put the plan together with her and her, what we would call today her girlfriend, but not her girlfriend like the world is today. But, her girlfriends, they were prepared and packed up everything for her. And she went straight for that army, that king. And she told the men that when she came back, she was going to have the king's head for what he was trying to do. She refused to allow him to come into their city and take over. So we had basically a strong woman, and we had a city of weak men. So the weak men wouldn't stand up for the city. They was going to bow down to this king, and they was basically going to be slaves to this king and his army. So the woman was like, no, I'm not having that. So the women got together, they put a plan together, and I believe it was Lydia. Lydia decided that she was going to go to their area, to where they be at, where the king and the army and everybody of the power, they had power, they city. So she traveled a good ways. Her and her girlfriend, that what they would call back then her lady helper or something like that, but today they call her girlfriends. So to make a long story short, she went into their camp, her and her helper went into the camp, and she plotted and planned and did everything in her mental state of mind. She knew she couldn't beat them physically, so she went to war with them spiritually. And on that note, a woman can be the most dangerous thing on the face of the earth when they think spiritually, not mentally. So she put that technique to work, and make it even shorter of the story for the time of the video. She had them throw a party once she got in their camp, and she got them all drunk and all sidetracked and everything else, and she had the king flabbergasted. He thought he was it. So, and she was very fine, very beautiful, and very smart. So what happened was she went into the tent where the king was resting and had drinking his wine and everything, and everybody's partying outside. Even the soldiers was out enjoying themselves. So everybody was drunk. So what she did was, when she got him to a certain point, she chopped his head off. He laid down. He was drunk, went to sleep, and she chopped his head off. And then when the other soldiers came in and seen her holding his head, they thought she had did some great voodoo or something like that. But she didn't. They just got to drink, got to talking, but she wasn't really drinking what she was drinking. So what happened was, when the king laid down and finally, was passed out and getting ready, whatever, she chopped his head off. And then she put his head in the bag, gave it to him, and they went out there and showed the bodyguards and they was outside the king's head. They freaked out and took off. So she promised the people of her city, the men in her city, that she would do what they wouldn't do, because they was too afraid, too weak. So what happened is, when she got back to the city, it took a couple of days for them to get back to the city, her and her helpmate, and they when they got there, they took his head off the bag and showed the men and everybody in the city that she had accomplished what she said she was going to accomplish. And of course, after that, she ruled in the city. So I share the story to say that a woman can be your best prize, or she can be your worst downfall. But I don't believe that we should hem a woman up in the house because that's what we think. That could be an old European way of keeping the women in check and keeping the family more important from uniting as one. Because God called the man and woman to become one. So in order for them to control, they had to make one more stronger than the other. So I believe that by default, the woman was more of a tool that God was using to take things to another level. The woman was not meant really to stay home, but if that's what she wanted to do, it was her choice. But a woman back then would have what they would call a side hustle now. You know what I mean? They would have a little side hustle. They watch the kids. They do this and that, other type of things. And some stay home and raise the kids. It wasn't no shame in that. But for people to say that the women were supposed to be bound to the home, cooking, barefoot and pregnant, and sweeping and cleaning the house, to me, that's a setup for failure when it comes to household, because it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on men to perform outside the household. Where back in them old biblical days, the men took care of the land. They ruled the land. They did what they had to do. They built the homes. They built the yards, and they did all the stuff around the house. The men didn't really leave their homes. They stayed on their property and they did what they had to do. Then they would go out and sell whatever the fruit of their labor brought forth. But a lot of times, the people came to them. So the men would be at the house because people would be coming to them to buy the fruit of their labor. So I think it's a great thing if a woman want to stay. My mama stayed home and she raised all the kids. And she didn't try to go out into the world and do anything until the last kid turned, upper teenage age. But she stayed home and raised them kids, all of us. And she could have, my mom was very smart. Went back to college in her 30s with Canisius College. She got, high degree. She's a smart, excellent woman, but it was her choice to stay home and raise the kids. She took a lot of slacks from her other sisters, which she had, if I'm not mistaken, 9 sisters. So they all was working, and they all had, real jobs. They was all in government. They was either, a couple of them had organizations they ran, like the Fruit Belt up in Buffalo, New York. So all my aunts and them was like trailblazers. They was like in high places, My aunt, she was a black history teacher, and she went You know, she used to go to different places and teach black history. She was black history. That's what she was. She was strong black woman who knew her black history. She knew white history, she knew other people's history, but black history was her thing. You could ask her anything about the history of black people, and she could tell you. She was well known in the city, and but on the side of that, she was a professional bowler. She won many championships, and so my aunts and them, they did at home, but they did outside the home too. So all my aunts and them had very high jobs. My mom was the only one that didn't go out into the field and work. But she was one of the smartest out of all of them. But it was her choice to stay home and raise the kids. Because believe me, my mom was so smart. When she joined Canisius College, back then it was one of the most top colleges in the United States. And she came out of there with the highest grades they couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say this, and to prove that women are not just barefoot and pregnant and take care of the home. That's what I'm trying to say. God had other plans. If God didn't want them leaving the house, then all them different great women of the Bible, he wouldn't allow them to do the things they did. He wouldn't allow them to go out and be entrepreneurs, and he wouldn't allow them to go cut their heads off and lead men and make them look stupid. What she basically did, because back then that whole city of men was cowards. They didn't stand up for nothing. They just was cowards. That's basically what I'm gonna call it what it is. They was cowards because the women had to go do what they wouldn't do. They was willing to turn themselves into slaves for this king and his army, because they didn't want to stand up for what was right, what God was telling them to stand up for. God was telling them to stand up for righteousness. They wouldn't stand up for righteousness, so they was willing to become slaves or ignorant people or less of a people because they didn't want to stand up. You know what I'm saying? But the women, when the men fell short back then, the women stood up and filled the block. See, that's what society is. Don't want nobody to understand. You see, where a man falls short, a woman supposed to step in and help. And where a woman is short, a man supposed to lead the way. You know what I mean? It's not two parties, one individual becoming one. Two people becoming one. They both lead when they become one because they won. They lead in their own position. You know what I'm saying? She's like Lydia was a well-known sewist, a silk maker. She led in that field. You know what I'm saying? So we have to kind of think behind that closed door, because the closed door, there was hidden secrets made, and they was not beneficial to the men or the women. It was beneficial to the big people, the ones that had the greed people, the hungry people, the ones who wanted to rule with the power. But them same people who wanted to rule didn't have the balls to stand up to the king and his wicked army that was coming to stand up for them. So we got to me, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. You know, I believe that when God said two or more come together, he was saying that they two people, but they come together with one destination to rule their area, their world. And every individual couple is a world. Two people becoming one, that's your world. Working together for the common cause to be something special and to represent the kingdom of God. That's what God is talking about. He wasn't talking about, the world, the way that the Europeans made it back then. They wanted two people to stay two people. Separated. And all right, that's why you got... It doesn't discriminate. The old system doesn't discriminate. So black, white, Puerto Rican, they want everybody separated and divided. And the more they can separate and divide it, then they could keep rule. And that's what happened back then. So I say, some people might not like what I say, but I don't. If a woman want to stay home and raise the kids, hey, more power to her. Because that's one of the hardest jobs in the world. The pay is shitty. Because most time you don't really get paid. You know, you just taking care of the home and the man paying the bills and stuff like that. Yeah, but you know there is no pay. You know there is no. Sometimes you know you don't even get a thank you or anything like that. Being a mother, a home a home mother is the hardest job on the face of the earth. And if y'all think there's a job harder than that, leave it in the comment section. But I don't think there's any job harder than a mother who stays home and raises the kids. But society would train people to frown on that woman. But she is worthy of the praises because she's doing one of the hardest jobs in the world. And there's no pay. There's no Friday paycheck. There's no monthly stipend. None of that. So, and a lot of times the kids and the husband don't even say thank you, I appreciate you. So that's one of the hardest jobs in the world. If you know a job harder than that, leave it in the comment section. Don't forget to press the like and subscribe. And if you like, make a donation to the station so that we can build on this, you know, I'm trying to make a studio, get the studio together. If you believe, you know, the contest that I'm saying, or you're interested, or you want to share your truth, leave it in the comment section, you know, and if you can, leave $1 or $2 for coffee, because I'm a coffee lover, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, just think about it, and if a man and woman come together, if they each know their role, but willing to become one, that don't mean they have to separate their roles. They just become together as a team to achieve the goal of their household, their world. So leave a message in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Peace.